Good morning, everyone. This is Natalie Gille with the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota. Welcome to the Minnesota Bike Walk Leadership Network webinar today on this December wintry weather day. I'll go ahead and share my screen and then we will get started. So everyone should be looking at this opening screen here. The topic today is Women Who Walk, Stories from Fergus Falls and Bemidji. We're on December 21st of 2022, our final webinar to close out this year. So we'll start by introduction. So if you can go to the chat box and type in your name and the location of where you're at so that we can find out who's in the audience today. The purpose of this webinar is to connect local bike walk leaders to share stories and ideas about how they're lifting up the walking and biking cultures in their community. And this is the purpose statement for the Minnesota Bike Walk Leadership Network. We have a land acknowledgement statement. We want to acknowledge that we occupy the ancestral land of several indigenous groups, including the Dakota, Ojibwe, Ho-Chunk, Cheyenne, Oto, Iowa, and Meskwaki people. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. We affirm the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota's commitment to a partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities. Despite centuries of colonial violence, this is still and always will be Indigenous land. Indigenous peoples are still here demonstrating innumerable talents and gifts in the midst of continued oppression. They must be celebrated and uplifted. You'll see the link on the screen and Ted will share it in the chat box here. If you'd like to click on that link, you can see what native land that you are located on. We've shared this before, and I want to remind everyone that Walk Bike Fun continues year-round. And we have opportunities in the winter, which is usually a really good time for communities and schools to get engaged to get this training to your community. So you can email Angela at BikeMN.org if you'd like to get some more information on this and keep rolling through and walking throughout the winter months. There's also a Safe Routes to School network that is led by Julie at moveminnesota.org. If you're interested in joining the Safe Routes to School network, you can email juliej@movemn.org. Many of you may have already be part of this network, and if you are hearing about this for the first time, please go ahead and reach out if you'd like to join that network as well. So I'm excited today to introduce our first speaker. And I guess before I get started here, I mentioned that the topic is Women Who Walk, and Mallory and myself were both Walking College Fellows this past year in 2022 through the American Walks and AARP Walking College Fellowship Program. And this fall, we both graduated as part of that Walking College Fellow graduating class of 2022. So it's exciting to share the stage today with Mallory and to welcome her to the webinar. Welcome, Mallory.
Yes, thank you, Natalie. As Natalie said, my name is Mallory Jarvie. I am the Assistant Transportation Planner with West Central Initiative in Fergus Falls. I do a lot of Safe Routes to School work, and so the Walking College was just a natural extension of my education into promoting walk safety. So my walking college experience, we ended with a walking action plan. And so I, along with my coworker slash supervisor, Wayne Hurley, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, created our walking college final project on walking signs in the downtown Fergus Falls area. So our walking action plan, we wanted to encourage people who are visiting the downtown area to walk between stores and walk to other popular sites in Fergus Falls more. And by doing this, we would put Walk Your City signs, which showed distance in terms of time. So it takes 5 minutes to walk to the library, or it takes 3 minutes to walk to this restaurant, or a minute to bike here, kind of just changing people's perspective on how long it actually takes to get somewhere on your feet. And also to serve as wayfinding for people who are new to the area, maybe they're visiting for the day, to show where new popular places to go are. So the inspiration for this project So Wayne Hurley and Patrick Hollister of Fergus Falls actually started this idea years ago. They had done a lot of legwork going into it, but it never really took off the ground and they never got funding for it. So when Wayne and I started doing the walking college, we automatically went to this project and thought it was a great way to use some legwork that had already been done, and bring it back up to speed and try to reshape it to fit the current needs. So there are some new destinations in Fergus Falls that people could visit. We have a new pavilion that was just completed this past fall that people could go to, and a new playground. And so highlighting those areas that hadn't already been in the past project. And there's an example of what that sign would look like from a different town, as you can see. And so we came up with some goals of what we wanted. So the first goal was to install the wayfinding signs in the downtown Fergus Falls area, with not distance in terms of, like mileage, but in terms of time. And after we would install that, we would then conduct a walk audit with members of the community. That includes our Pedal Fergus Falls, which is an extension of BikeMN, or a chapter. The Fergus Falls Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, which is part of our city council, to show them the project. And this would then lead to an evaluation period where we would see how the public interacts with the signs, what data we can collect. We would have a survey on the signs, seeing how effective they are to get people out walking. Does it increase walking? Does it help people explore new parts of town that they've never been before? Yeah, so we would then evaluate. And this would also include an in-person observation day, like actually sitting and watching people, like, are they walking up to the signs? Are people looking at them? Are they easy to read? So those are the goals we had in mind. And then to do this, we need to collaborate with a bunch of different partners. So each one of these logos is a partner that we're working with. So that includes Pedal Fergus Falls, the City of Fergus Falls, American Walks and AARP, who did the walking college with, West Central Initiative, and Signworks, who is going to create the signs for us. And I also want to say that we partnered with a local artist from Fergus Falls. His name is Scott Gunvalson. And he's going to be designing the actual layout of the sign. So Wayne and I will be putting the data information on it, like it takes 3 minutes to walk here, but then Scott's going to design the outline and try to fit all those logos on there in a pleasing way. So our timeline for this. So we've already determined the walking sign location. So Wayne and I conducted a walk audit, walking all of the routes, deciding where we want to put the signs, where on blocks, what posts are going to go on. So that is done, and we have a map of that. And now we're currently in the designing phase. So we're collaborating with Scott to design the signs. And once that is finished and they're created by Signworks, we're going to install that. And we need to collaborate with city staff and volunteers on who's going to put up the signs. So the signs can be put up by anyone. They're going to be put up with zip ties. But we need to schedule a date in the spring. And then after installation, we'll do a walk audit right after that with community members and kind of just showcasing, like, look at this new part of downtown Fergus Falls, look at this wonderful asset we have. And then once we have that and people know about it, we'll do the evaluation and see how effective the signs are. And using that data, we are going to look at if we can have permanent signs up. So the walk audit. So this is what me and Wayne did. So these are some of the site locations that we visited and determined. So in the upper left, there's a directory of Fergus Falls already. So we're going to put a sign close to that. Upper right, there are lots of bikes in downtown Fergus Falls that are locked up, sometimes all year round. So they're all covered in snow right now. But people really like to walk and bike in the downtown area. There's a lot of apartments in our downtown. So it'd be great for people who live here, but also people just visiting. We have in the upper left, bottom left, We have a Veterans Trail loop that goes through the downtown, so people might be walking anyway on the loop. And on the bottom right, that is a picture of the new pavilion, and you can kind of see on the right that we built a new, the city of Fergus Falls built a new curb extension with RFBs on there. So a lot more people are walking in the downtown area, and it's safer for people to walk, and we want to encourage that now. So these are locations. So we came up with 19 sign locations. The bolded top 12, those are areas of most concern. So if we don't have enough funding to make signs for all of them, we want to emphasize the top 12. And so we have farmers markets. Uncle Eddie's is an ice cream shop where a lot of people go to, and a lot of bikes are parked out there. Victor Landine's, Don Pablo's is a popular Mexican restaurant in the downtown. Cali's is a coffee shop many people go to. Otter Power, a lot of employees are there, and they walk in the downtown for their lunch. The library, so the library is number 8. It's way down south, so it's a couple blocks from the downtown area, but it's very popular, and across the street is a brand new playground. So there are a lot of families who will go to the library, and so we really want to encourage people, like if you're in the downtown area, it's actually not that far of a walk just to walk to the library and not drive to the library, even though it's like a 2-minute drive but a 5-minute walk, so you're not saving that much time. And so changing the perspective on that. And then Otter Cove, I jumped ahead. So Magnuson Park is across the street, and City Hall for city employees, the River Inn, a lot of people live there, and Otter Cove is our local children's museum. So a lot of families go to just Otter Cove, but encouraging families to not just drop their kids off and drive away, but like park your car, go to Otter Cove, then walk around. And then other businesses in the downtown area. So next, after we made our signs, we're in the design phase. So after we decided the locations, now we're in the design phase. So the design phase, what we want to emphasize is the distance, as I've already said many times, but the signs are going to be made of corrugated plastic cardboard. So they are fairly inexpensive. So it's not a huge financial feat to buy all these signs or replace them as needed. The signs will have all of the logos that you saw before, so trying to fit those on, and we're also going to add a QR code so anyone can walk up and take a survey. And we're also commissioning the local artist to do an original design that will encapsulate Fergus Falls. So some imagery, painting, picture will be on the sign that's an original artwork. And then after that, evaluation. So we have 3 main goals to evaluate if our project was a success. So the first one is getting them installed, and our goal is by the spring of 2023. And before that, we need to design, create, locate the determined sign locations, install them. We want to conduct a walk audit with at least 50% of those invited attending. So we need to set the date, get the invitations out, and conduct the walk audit, and then install the permanent metal signs. And our goal is by the summer of 2025, and that will give us enough time to get the data together, present it to the city council, get approval by the city council, and then hire a company to create the metal signs. And in between there, engage public awareness. So some challenges that we might face is the durability of the signs. So the signs will be up for 1 full calendar year. So they won't be up permanently unless we get the metal ones. And hopefully they'll last through the winter. Vandalism, people like to put stickers on things. So hopefully no one will put a sticker on it and cover up any of the wayfinding messages. Hopefully no one steals them or writes on them. And hopefully we'll have enough money in our bank to replace them as needed. And our last one would be lack of public participation. So hopefully people will take the survey and people will interact with it. But if we don't. We're going to do some quarterly assessments of who is taking the survey, who is not taking the survey, are people taking the survey? And we'll use promotional materials as needed, such as posting on Facebook from the West Central page, from the City of Fergus Falls page, from Pedal Fergus Falls, the BPAC, encouraging people to take it, maybe putting flyers out in the newspaper to inform people what is downtown, like what are these signs, and kind of evaluate as we go. Some closing thoughts. So both these images are on the paths that we recommend with the walking signs, is that little projects can make a big impact. So this project might seem big, but each sign is around, I want to say like $20, $30, hopefully. So even just 4 or 5 in a downtown area could do a big impact. And the goal is to push people to think differently, because some people just need a little push outside of their comfort zone. You know, changing the perspective, like, yeah, it only takes 5 minutes to get to this destination that you go every day, and you don't need to drive 1 block to get there. And also encourage outside partners who you think could benefit. So work with your city, work with maybe other local businesses who they could benefit from people walking to their shop. Everyone benefits from healthy people and people walking in their community. So I want to say thank you. And this is also a picture on our walk from our Children's Museum. They have a piano that's always outside. So feel free to come to Fergus Falls and play piano. And if you ever need to contact me, my email is there, and I'll also put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mallory. Wonderful presentation. There was some really wonderful images that you shared on the screen, and hopefully that is something that is resonating with the participants of the webinar today. So we'll pause just for a moment now and take questions for Mallory. And you are welcome to put your question in the chat box, or you can go off mute. And if you are comfortable doing so, go on video and ask your question. So Ted, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, please. So I've had the privilege of going to Fergus myself. I got to go there, and I put that in the chat as well. I'll be up there again, hopefully this May. It's a great place to walk. I am curious, like, you know, a lot of the challenges of getting people to walk more is a perception of safety. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how that has been a part of this conversation. All my coworkers, I'm sure, bored hearing that I was recently in Quebec City, and I was really kind of blown away by how many of the traffic signals would get priority for pedestrians, sometimes 90 seconds without cars being able to move, and I was kind of blown away by that. So just kind of curious if there's any initiatives along that line.
Yeah. So with safety, thankfully, the Fergus Falls has been pretty proactive in some new safety features, like the bump out crosswalk that I mentioned. That is brand new, with the flashing beacon. So if pedestrians press the button, it starts flashing and cars know to yield. So that's been great. But otherwise, our downtown area, like, the streets are naturally narrower. A lot of the areas, all the intersections have crosswalks and they're light activated. So it's just naturally safe to walk in the downtown area, and that's where our center is. We don't really have any signs at the moment that go outside of the downtown area where it is more unsafe. But that will be a future project. Yeah, so right now it's more just getting visibility out there, because it is pretty safe at the moment. I think the main obstacle right now for Fergus Falls residents not walking or biking is just perception of time, and everyone is in a hurry or they don't want to walk. So that's what we're mainly focusing on.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So I'll just answer some questions from the chat. So for partners, it's not Fergus Falls, it wasn't too difficult because we're pretty active in the bicycle advocacy group right now. I mean, so Wayne is the president or the chair for the Pedal Fergus Falls. I'm on the BPAC, which is the Bicycle Pedestrian Advocacy Committee. We have a lot of businesses who are bike friendly. So that is a good step to go towards, is if you're looking for people or businesses to engage with, encourage them to be bicycle friendly. And that will just naturally start the conversation flowing. Yeah. And our city is pretty good. Definitely talk with your city administrators, engineers, planners. They get a lot of work done and they know everything about the city. And the audience is for both. So anyone can use the wayfinding signs, but we're hoping that it does help visitors know where to go. We get a lot of people in the summer who are just there for maybe an hour, encouraging them to like, hey, there's a restaurant here, go visit the libraries over here, or there's a park over here if you have kids. A lot of people come to Otter Cove, especially with their kids from out of town. So saying, hey, there is a park, like a 4-minute walk away, like go there, and you might not, if they didn't know it was there already. And I'm not sure if Wayne or Patrick received any pushback. I just think the funding fell through and it was just a big project at the time, and the city of Fergus Falls wasn't as proactive as it was 5-6 years ago. But now we have some new bike lanes. We actually have green bike lanes in the city, which was a huge surprise. People think it's like Minneapolis now, but yeah, we have a lot of new pedestrian and bicycle friendly infrastructure. So it's been easier to get more of our work pushed through, to say.
That's great. Great conversation about this, and thanks, Mallory, for all of these this input. And as people are listening to this dialogue and some of the questions and answers that are happening, you know, these different aspects of bicycling and walking are really interconnected. So you create a safer infrastructure for people to bike and walk. It becomes more welcoming. And then you put up the signage, and that helps people get where they need to go and encourage them to walk in certain directions and to places of interest in Fergus Falls.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'll pause for just a moment here. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. I think we've covered the ones that people had posted up. Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask Mallory before we move to the second part of this webinar today? You can unmute and go on video if you'd like to ask your question, or you could type it into the chat box. All right, I think I'll close out the Q&A for this segment, and then we can also, if you think of any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'll wrap up the webinar today with a Q&A at the end as well. So I will go ahead and share my screen again here. And you will see me up on the screen. I'm your second speaker today. So I'm Natalie Gille with the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota, and also was a Walking College Fellow during 2022. And there's a couple of things I just want to mention about the Walking College before I get into my presentation that Mallory touched on. There are projects that we're talking about doing to implement our walking action plans that are, you know, we have a little bit of funding. When you graduate as a Walking College Fellow, you get a $500 grant or a dollar amount that you can spend to just begin the work to implement some items from your Walking College action plan. So anyways, there's some of these ideas are have a little bit of money that you can put at it right away to start to get some things going. So it's exciting to hear your story, Mallory, and now I'll talk about Bemidji. That's where I have focused my project. So, and before I dial in on Bemidji, I do want to just mention that in 2022, the Central Region Walking College, that was what we were part of, and you know, Mallory and myself and Wayne. The list on the screen here are all of the fellows that are from Minnesota who graduated along with us. So you see Wayne and Mallory and I on here. You also have Kylie Wheeler from St. Cloud and Robin Bernardi from Dakota County. So other folks that you might know or may live in the community that you work in or live in, and definitely reach out if you're interested in doing some walking work. These folks have action plans. That was a requirement of our Walking College. That was our final project, was to produce a Walking College action plan. And so each of us then now will be working on helping to implement those in the communities where we live. So the Walking College action plan that I created was called the Superhero Steppers Walking School Bus. So this was my action plan to create a walking school bus, and I have named it the Superhero Steppers. And so with each of the steps in our walking action plan, there will be 5 that I will present to you today. The first one is vision. Then I'll talk about background, community engagement, goals and strategic planning, and then performance measures and evaluation. So the first one here is vision. And the vision for the Superhero Steppers is to create a walking school bus called the Superhero Steppers to walk kids home from school and encourage the youth and aging population to walk together. So the focus of my walking action plan was really to bring the youth and the aging population together. So when we did this walk audit, that was one of the assignments that we did as part of the Walking College, was to conduct a walk audit in our own community. I chose to invite the school with all the kids and the senior center and have them both invited and potentially then participate in this walk audit together. And so that was envision what I had planned to do here. We got all these kids walking. This is part of the walk audit. The picture you see on the left-hand side of the screen is the kids from the school nearby participating in the walk audit. And it's fun to see what the kids had to say about the environment that we walked. So we had a 1 mile stretch where we were able to walk with the kids, and we started at the school and then we walked to the senior center. And this is Verna and I in front of the senior center here on the right side of the screen here, that picture. We did walk to the senior center, and then we talked to them. They did not participate in the walk. We talked to them, we presented them information, we collected some feedback, but it's still a work in progress. We began the conversation and got some interest in what we had to say, and it was really exciting to have all the kids there as well. So I'll have a couple of other pictures here where I'll share a little bit more about how that went. But in vision, this is the goal, is to get the kids and the aging population to walk together. And this was really helping to bridge that community connection between the youth and the aging population. So through this walking school bus. So a little background information. Here's a couple of pictures on the screen that we took during the walk audit. So on the left side here, you have one of the walkers that is has their clipboard and their AARP walking audit toolkit. So as part of the Walking College, AARP funded the partnership along with American Walks to offer up this opportunity, and they have an AARP walk audit toolkit. It's lengthy. There's a lot of information in there. For the one in Bemidji, we used, I think it was 6 pages of the audit toolkit. And so here you have one of the people that was participating writing a few notes. We walked through this area, and you'll see behind her, there's a huge tree that's overarching the sidewalk. That picture, kind of the third one from the left, is that tree along the sidewalk. That's where we were supposed to be walking. And there was no chance that we were going to be able to walk along that sidewalk. That was obstructing our ability to walk. And if someone wanted to then go around the tree, you had to navigate that curb cut that was overgrown with weeds, and there was a lot of debris and stuff like that that was collecting along there. So a couple things we found. This is within the first, quarter mile of walking from the school. This is what we encountered. This infrastructure right here. And then once we got a little ways from the school, we walked up that bridge. You'll see on the right side of your screen, we saw a bicyclist walking their bike up that down that hill there. And then on the other side of that hill, you'll see that the picture, the second from the left there with the little trail. It's not a sidewalk, but it's a space along the grass, which is the most direct route that kids would take then if they wanted to go into town. So here's the walk audit route that we took. If you look on the map at the bottom, it was Apple Blossom Village. These were the kids. This is where we started the walk. And then just a couple of dots into it on the map here is where you saw a couple of those photos where there was the trees overarching onto the sidewalk. And then we walked over the bridge. And then you'll see on the very top left, Harmony Natural Foods Co-op that's at the corner there. And that is also where those blue dots are up on the top, are where that path in the grass is worn, where people walk along that top spot there, because you would otherwise have to walk across the street to get the sidewalk and then back across again. And people are kind of taking the direct route. That path demonstrates that. And then as you go across the top there, you get to the senior center. So we had, a half mile each way for this walk for the kids and to go to the senior center. So it's very closely connected. This downtown area, if you look at this map here, off to the right, that's Paul Bunyan Park. That's where Paul and Babe, the big statues are right along the waterfront there. And the downtown area is very compact. So, you have a school, you have the senior center, and you have a lot of businesses that are close in location to each other, so people can shop and walk around and get lunch and socialize by foot if you can get there. So this is just shows you kind of how close everything is right in downtown. So some of the things I'll just call out in the walk audit that we discovered that we've raised as concerns is the absence of sidewalks on the south side of the Irvine Bridge. So on the left side of the screen, you see those dots, and that's the bridge. And I mentioned this already, but there was that path where people have walked, and it showed in the grass there where they like to walk. So there was the absence of sidewalks on that side. The absence of public restrooms. This came up as something that was a concern, that there was sidewalks in disrepair, that we had to walk on the road during part of the walk audit. There was that not only the trees that were overhanging that obstructed the walking along the sidewalk. There was also sidewalks that the concrete had broken or was full of glass or rocks and other types of debris that wasn't cleared. And then the absence of painted crosswalks. There were a number of places, and our walk was pretty short, half mile each way. So about a half mile of the infrastructure here between the school and the senior center. There was areas where we didn't have a painted crosswalk that would help connect these the kids and the seniors together along this route. So community engagement, we walked the kids to the senior center, and when we got there, they were very excited to be participating in their woodworking group, the wood carvers, and they invited the children to see what they were doing. And although they didn't walk with us, this was a chance for connecting the youth with a project that the folks at the senior center were really engaged in and excited to be doing. So this was something where we were bridging a relationship that is a foundation for maybe future projects, future walking, getting folks to walk with these children to and from school. But this was really an introduction. The kids thought it was really cool to see what the seniors were up to, and the folks here that were carving their wood statues were really excited to share as well. So this was something, we're just building that community connection between the school, the senior center, and other local businesses along the route that we took for walking. Here's a picture outside of the senior center. The next step here, goals and strategic planning. That is Tony Clare is out there talking a little bit to a few of the seniors. He and I participated together to conduct the walk audit that I did as part of the walking college. And so this section here, we want to set some goals and strategic planning. The key components to the goals that I set for my walking action plan included developing a pilot program. So working with Apple Blossom Village and then potentially Lincoln Elementary to implement a pilot program for the walking school bus and collect some data. Set up a route and schedule the walks. So figure out when you want to walk. We're kind of proposing potentially doing a walking Wednesday. The route you saw on the map on the screen was a route that we were just kind of testing out to do the community connection with the seniors. figure out who the partners are. Tony was a great partner to work together on the walk audit and collect some feedback and some data and to help guide the walkers. And to do that, there are a lot of local partners. When I started the Walking College Fellowship this past spring, there was already a lot of people that were engaged. Like Mallory mentioned, in Fergus Falls, in Bemidji, we also had a group of people that were city staff, public works, local advocates, and other folks in the community that were already interested in doing walking work. So when I started my fellowship, it was great to hear that some work had already been done and that there was some folks already engaged in doing a project. So some of the partners were already at the table. And then I mentioned the funding, the $500 that you get as a walking college graduate, but then also once you graduate from the walking college, then you become eligible for to apply for some grants, because especially with the partnership with AARP, they would like to see us be successful as graduates of the Walking College program to implement the plans that we have spent all this time putting together. So that funding piece is something to keep in mind and to really reach out to those local partners. And a lot of them are already got the wheels turning on this work. So the other piece was the walking volunteers. So who's going to walk with the kids? If we want to make this connection between the youth and the aging population, we'll have our routes. You know, how do we figure out who's going to seek out our volunteers, get whatever form signed that we might need to have signed to be able to, you know, have them included in the program, and then which students will participate. So what's, you know, getting the forms signed so that the students are able to walk with the walking volunteers and then walk home from school together and build those community partnerships. At the end of my plan, I did include a racial equity piece, and this was important to include because I wanted to do some evaluation, and I'll mention that in my next slide here, just to figure out how successful we are at bringing that into this walking school bus. So that's another component of our goals and strategic planning. So as part of my plan as well, I included strategies to make each of these goals happen. And then also potential challenges, as Mallory had mentioned. So just as far as the timing of when school is in session and when the walking volunteers are available, we have to make sure that that works out. Figuring out the, you know, the liability or the waiver form so that everyone is on board that's able to walk, and that's, you know, we have collected that information about who the walkers are going to be with the youth. And then, you know, also just how to overcome these challenges. So as we face different things, when we get into the pilot program and we collect data, you know, how will we overcome them? So good communication between the schools, the community partners, the volunteers, that was something that was really important to make sure that we have, so that they know, you know, like where they're going to walk and who they're going to walk with and when that's scheduled for, to just make sure that that helps us to keep that open communication and address any challenges that might come up along the way. So performance measures and evaluation, the things that we want to evaluate as part of this project are evaluate the population focus areas. So this is the racial equity piece by age, ethnicity, sex, geography, race, sexual identity, and mode of transportation. So this is something that that I pulled into my walking action plan to include and evaluate. The other measures of success, we're counting how many students are participating in the walking school bus from each school and whether this increases year over year. So establish that baseline and then compare year over year if we're improving by engaging more students in the program. And then also count how many folks from the aging population are participating in the walking school bus and whether that increases as well. So addressing those challenges as they come up, figuring out how to overcome those barriers, and then measuring all of these different components of the implementation of this walking action plan to figure out how to improve that year over year. And then what was really cool about the timing of this fellowship for me is that there was an existing Bemidji walking implementation team that had already began to do some work. So I was able to dovetail that work with the project that I was doing to complete my walking action plan. And so one of the things that came out of that was to conduct data at the demonstration project adjacent to the walking route to Lincoln Elementary. The project that was already in place before I put together my walking college action plan for the superhero steppers ended up choosing a demonstration project as their project. And so I was able to participate in that project team and help to influence the site selection of the install, so that we could strategically place it where we also would be close to the school, Lincoln Elementary. So this is something that we hope to collect data on and then inform future decision making to see if that installation might become a permanent installation. So just in review, the key components I just mentioned about a successful walking action plan, and this is something that we learned as part of our fellowship, was to have a vision for your plan, collect background information, engage with your community, set goals, and do some strategic planning, and then have performance measures and evaluation in place that you can track to evaluate the success of your program. So here is just a couple of photos from the implementation of the demonstration project over at First and Gould in Bemidji. And so you'll see maybe some familiar faces on the screen here. We engaged with the youth to help out, as well as you might see here on the left side, Matthew Deardorff from Alta was kind of the lead person on site when we installed the demonstration project. Tony Clares is here with us as well, and then some other local volunteers. Public Works helped with traffic control. Because we were painting a crosswalk, we were installing this reflective tape and putting up bollards. So it was, and the traffic was going across first as we were installing the project. But that was a great partnership with folks who helped to control traffic as we were doing the install. So this was pretty exciting. And then the local television station came out to do a little story on the install of the demonstration project, which was really cool as well. So that was fun to participate in. And you see in the backdrop here, those bollards, those are ones that we put up. We put up the tape and painted the crosswalk there as well. So that was cool. That was a temporary demonstration project, which was taken out for winter, but will be reinstalled again in the spring. So it was cool that the timing of that happened along with the walking college. So just a thank you to American Walks, AARP, and to BikeMN, all supportive of my participation in this walking college. So if that's something that you would like to participate in, become a fellow, put together a walking college action plan, and then engage partners so that you can make your community more walkable, I would definitely encourage you to do that and to reach out to folks to get involved. And as I mentioned, you know, we have those walking college fellows who are graduates who are looking to implement those plans across Minnesota. And there are 5 of us in Minnesota that are newly graduated fellows that are looking to make Minnesota more walkable. So again, here I'm Natalie Gille, Greater Minnesota Program Manager here at BikeMN, and my contact information is on the screen, natalie@bikemn.org, and my phone number as well, 218-239-0076, if you would like to reach out with any questions that you might have about walking college, or if you have any follow-up after this webinar. So thank you so much. So I'll pause for a moment just to take any questions. If you are interested in asking a little bit more about this particular walking action plan for the superhero steppers, I see that there was a comment in the chat box here. Kids are notorious for taking the shortest route. Indeed, they definitely are. And I see Marty on here mentioned desire path. So maybe some lingo as far as how these are referred to. So did anyone have any questions for me about the walking college action plan I created for superhero steppers, or for Mallory as well, just about our experience as walking college graduates now, and what happens next? Okay, see, I see a question in the chat box here. How is Bemidji as far as snow clearance and how that impacts walking college initiatives? That's a great question. I should have taken a picture after this most recent snowstorm we had in Bemidji about how much snow actually covers that that desire path or of across by the co-op there on the other side of the bridge. It's huge. It's a big mountain of snow right now. That's not cleared. But that's not a sidewalk either. Yeah, there's a lot that could be done better. One of the things that happens in Bemidji is that snow is cleared to the middle of the road, and then they come through with a big, huge dump truck to clear it out. So it's kind of like, that's an interesting way that they clear snow in Bemidji, is they clear it to the middle of the road. So you have like this mountain in the middle until they come through and then clear it out. So some of the sidewalks are cleared better than others. Some are completely buried in snow. So let's see here. In case people are interested in the next round, what was the time commitment for the walking college? Oh, great question. Okay, so as far as the next opportunity for Minnesotans to participate in walking college, I would need to figure out when that would come up. But the time commitment for the walking college is 6 months. They run it, and we found out we were walking college fellows at the beginning of May, and then like, you're starting next week. And so then it was really quite, it happened, we were selected and we began the college in short order, and it also was during bike month. So that was an exciting bike month in 2022. It was very busy, but they launch you right into the college. And this actually just kind of prompts me too to mention that the expectation, and that they have shared with all the fellows, is that the time expectation is 5 hours per week. And that includes 3 components. One is the work that you do, that you're scheduled to complete online. They have, you go online and you can pull up your assignments, and then you post up responses to questions and things like that online. The second thing you have is a meeting with your mentor. Each walking college fellow is assigned a mentor. And then when you have your mentor, you'll meet with your mentor. And then you also have small group meetings. So you have your individual assignments, you have your mentor that you work with to help guide you through the program, and then you have your small group meetings. And then in those meetings, then you kind of share out on what you were working on that particular week. That was your assignments. And then there's particular ones that they ask a question about that you share out with that group. So what I found as far as the time commitment for walking college was that 5 hours a week was good at the very beginning, but when you got into the final, the final phase, or maybe even like the second half of all of this, when you have to plan a walk audit, you have to engage with community members and schedule it, plan it, figure out the walking audits toolkit, and then develop your plan and vet it out. That took considerably more time. Many of the fellows had provided a little bit of feedback that it did increase as far as your time commitment over time when you got to the end of your walking college fellowship. So yes, the expectation is 5 hours a week, but I did find that at the end of the walking college fellowship, it did increase quite a bit to actually just get it done and produce a really well-vetted action plan. Michelle, I see your hand up. Did your question get answered?
Sorry, lost the mute button. Question first, thank you to both of you. And about the AARP funding, was that through the community challenge grants, or is that something else? And I know the community challenge grants, if I can put a plug in for them, I think that's starting up in January, and they can be a really useful tool. But anyway.
Good question. It's definitely something that is that walking college fellows are encouraged to apply for, the community challenge grant. And then the $500 that I mentioned is separate from that. So basically, if you make it through the full 6 months and you graduate as a fellow, then each one you just have to basically apply for it, and then you end up getting that $500 as kind of the beginning of your project. I should mention that's a superhero stepper is how we're using our $500. I didn't mention that. That kind of prompts me to do that. So I'm working with HRDC, and we are going to create a logo that will be inspired and potentially created by children. We're working on how the logistics of that would maybe happen, because in Vision, we wanted to have the children develop some different designs and have that incorporated into the logo. We'll see if that is what comes about, but we do have a local artist we want to work with to design a logo. If we're not able to fully embrace the idea of having the kids design the logo and then produce t-shirts. So we're going to get t-shirts so we can get the word out there about the superhero steppers, have it branded, and then get folks wearing the t-shirts. So we do the walk to school day with the t-shirts on that say superhero steppers, and then have that be, you know, kind of like the foundational work that will lead to then doing the walking school bus itself. So thanks, Ted, for putting the link to the community challenge grant through AARP in the chat box. So click on that if you're interested in applying for those dollars. Okay, there was a question back in the chat box here about did you get MnDOT grant for the demonstration project or just the funding from your AARP program? Okay, the demonstration project was a different project than my walking school bus action plan. So the demonstration project was produced by the Bemidji implementation team, which was doing walking work before I started my fellowship. So I would need to find out more about how that was funded, but it did dovetail really nicely with the walking college. So I was able to participate in helping this with the site selection so that it was complementary to the kids walking to Lincoln Elementary if they want, you know, in getting the data collection and kind of dovetailing those two projects. So, you know, there's the $500 that we have as a walking college fellow. We're trying to get some other grant funding to do the implementation of the walking school bus itself. And then the demonstration project is a separate thing, also complementary, also walking. And it would be great to have that installed before we did our walking school bus so that, you know, it calms the traffic along First there when the kids are walking across from it's connecting the community where the families live to the other side of First where they go to school. So I don't know that that didn't necessarily answer your question, Joanne, but I guess I would have to look into that. But there's definitely a strong partnership with not only MnDOT, but local folks, you know, at the city, Public Works, Greater Bemidji, and other folks, planners and folks like that are involved in trying to get the dollars that we need to be able to implement and potentially make it permanent as a demonstration project. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So it looks like another City of Princeton got some funding from the Community Challenge Grant, and that's been excellent. So very good. Thanks for sharing that, Michelle. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide here. We have upcoming events. So this is in the Twin Cities area coming up, and you know we're already almost closing out December, but there's still events yet to happen before the close of the year. So 1221 bike maintenance class at BikeMN, 1226 Mondays at Theo Worth, 1227 Women on Wheels bi-weekly ride, 1227 Bone Saw Tuesday night ride, and then coming up to kick off the new year on the 11th of January, Fat Wednesday, cyclocross in Lakeville. So Greater Minnesota folks, there's some events happening where you're at as well. 1222 Women's Fat Bike Skiing Night at the Ski Hut in Duluth. 1227 Nicollet Bike Weekly Tuesday nights in Mankato. And then after the first of the year, we have the 7th of January Norpine Fat Bike Classic in Lutzen, and on the 8th Fat Vasa in Mora. And in Bemidji, we typically have a New Year's Day bike ride. We usually try to ride the number of miles equal to the temperature outside, which is interesting. Today we are below 0. So that's always kind of, then we just ride around the lake or go on, you know, or ride on the lake with our fat bikes. So, all right. And then Ted put in the chat box, you can look there for the link to this and more on our website, BikeMN.org. And then I just wanted to share a thank you to all the speakers from 2022. I've listed them on the screen here. You know, every year when I reflect back on all of the webinars that we host during the year, it's always wonderful to look back through and wanted to extend our thanks to all of you who have shared your time and your knowledge with this network throughout the year. And we really appreciate what you've shared so that this network can stay connected with all of you and learn about all of the things that you're specialized in. So we appreciate that. So just to close out the webinar here, I want to, if I could put you on the spot, Dorian, to just speak a little bit about our Day on the Hill and upcoming legislative agenda, if that's something that we could hold just a couple of minutes here to close out the webinar on. Can I welcome you to the webinar here, Dorian?
Thank you, Natalie.
Oh, wonderful.
I am really excited. If you guys remember last year, the Republicans and Democrats could not agree on much of anything and did not pass a transportation bill. I think they both thought they were going to win the election and get to spend all the federal money that created this great big surplus. You probably heard there's a $19 billion surplus, which is, gee, I think that's 20% or 25% of the whole state budget. So it's a great big number. And it'll be mostly appropriated as general fund money. So meaning you don't have to build stuff with it, you can do programs with it. I have met, and I think we all know that the Democrats won that roll of the dice, whether who was going to win last November and be in control of the legislature. The Democrats won. Senator Scott Dibble will be the chair of the Senate committee. Democrat from Minneapolis, very strong supporter of biking and walking. And Frank Hornstein, Representative Frank Hornstein, will continue to chair the House committee. Vic, our lobbyist, and Maya and I met with them last week. And I'll just sum it up by saying, I asked Chair Hornstein, will you be the author of a climate bill again this year? This session, last session, he was the author of a $1 billion climate bill, which had 5% for biking and walking, or $50 million, which is more or less doubling all the federal money that comes into the state of Minnesota. And he smiled and said, yes, but it'll probably be more. So I want you all to do whatever you can to come. Some of you can't lobby, I know, but we will have information sessions, roundtable discussions in the afternoon when people head off, others head off to the Capitol. But just being there will be of great value to let, and the chairs of the committee will be there. Let them know that there are people from all over Minnesota that support what they're trying to do to make more funding available for biking and walking, improve the policies for biking and walking. And that'll be on our website sometime soon, and we'll put it in our e-news as soon as the bills are drafted right after the first of the year. So I've invited Mayor Carter to welcome us to St. Paul and talk about his climate action plan, their biking and walking plan, and mobility justice issues in big cities and small cities. I've invited the governor to speak. Senator Dibble and Representative Hornstein have already committed to being there. I've invited a climate speaker and some others to help us make the case for what we're trying to do. So thanks, Natalie. I don't know that we have time for questions, but I think you all know how to find me. It's Dorian@BikeMN.org.
Thanks, Dorian. And one of the things I just want to add to what Dorian just shared about the Minnesota Bike Walk Summit is that if you are an advocate and you can lobby and you can go and speak with these legislators, that you are not alone. We're not going to send you solo. If you'd like to go along with another person and a group to go meet with the legislator, that's definitely encouraged and is something that we can help make happen. So that if you're intimidated by what you see here and the thought of going and speaking connecting with one of your legislators to deliver a message and ask for some of these things we've been discussing. We will help you and support you to get there and to meet with these legislators, and can help you learn how that process works. So it is an educational process in addition to one that we'd like to see a call to action happen and some things happen to follow. So very good. Okay, well, thank you, Dorian, and thank you to Mallory Jarvie and other folks who have shared questions, and to all of the participants today on the webinar. We appreciate you being here, and this will be this is recorded today and will be available for replay on YouTube. So we do have a BikeMN YouTube page that you can follow and then listen to the replay and share it with your networks. Thank you so much. Have a safe and warm holiday.